It was a good building, a sturdy building, filled with the echoes of hammers and saws and honest work. The morning light came through the tall windows of Wade Construction, the same way it had for 32 years, catching the dust particles that danced in the air above the scarred wooden desk where I'd built everything from nothing. My coffee sat in the same chipped mug my late wife Sarah had given me when I first opened the doors back in 1993. When I came home from the Gulf War with nothing but my hands, my service record, and a dream to build something that would last. The mug had her handwriting on it, faded now, but still readable. Build your dreams, Tom. I was 61 years old. I'd survived combat. I'd buried my wife 3 years ago, after 40 years of marriage, and I'd built a construction company that employed 17 people and had earned a reputation for quality work and fair dealing across 3 counties. I should have known better. I should have seen it coming. But when it's family, you tell yourself different stories. You make excuses. You remember the little girl who used to follow you around the construction sites your father worked, who looked up to you like you hung the moon. That morning started like any other Thursday. I was reviewing bids for a new municipal contract when my sister Patty came into the office. She'd been working as my office manager for the past 8 months, ever since her second divorce left her scrambling for income and a place to land. I'd given her both without hesitation, because that's what family does. That's what our father taught us, before the accident took him on a work site when I was 19 and Patty was 13. Tommy, she said, using the childhood name only she still used. She was 54 now, but sometimes when she smiled, I could still see that gap-toothed kid sister in her face. I need to talk to you about something important. She had Marcus with her. Marcus Holloway, her boyfriend of 6 months. He was a big guy, mid-40s, with the kind of smooth talk that had always made my skin crawl. He wore expensive watches and drove a BMW that seemed too nice for someone who claimed to be between opportunities. But Patty had been through 2 bad marriages, and she seemed happy, so I'd kept my mouth shut and been polite at family dinners. Marcus has an opportunity, Patty said, sliding into the chair across from my desk. Marcus stood behind her, one hand on her shoulder in a gesture I now understand was possessive, not affectionate. A real estate investment. Commercial property downtown that's about to be rezoned. The returns are incredible. Tommy, 20% in the first year alone. I'd been in business long enough to know that when something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. I appreciate you thinking of me, I said carefully. But I'm not really interested in real estate speculation. The company's doing fine with steady contract work. It's not speculation, Marcus said, his voice smooth as oil. I have inside information on the zoning changes. This is a sure thing, Tom. Your sister's already committed her savings. I just thought you might want in on the ground floor. That should have been my first warning. Patty had maybe $15,000 in savings, tops. But I didn't push. I smiled and said, I'll think about it. Actually, Patty said, and something in her voice changed, became harder. We need an answer today. The window closes at 5 o'clock. Marcus needs to secure the property, and we're a little short on the down payment. How short? I asked. $350,000. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. Patty, that's not a little short. That's more than you make in 5 years. Where did you think that money was going to come from? From you, Marcus said flatly. From the business. You can take out a bridge loan using the company as collateral. We've already drawn up the papers. Once the property flips, you'll make back double what you put in. And Wade Construction benefits from the profit. That's when Patty slid the folder across my desk. Inside were loan documents, already filled out, requiring only my signature. My hands shook slightly as I flipped through them. They weren't just loan papers. They were documents transferring 49% equity in Wade Construction to something called Holloway Real Estate Ventures, LLC. What the hell is this? I asked. It's a partnership agreement, Marcus said, his tone patronizing now, like he was explaining something to a child. Your sister and I would become minority partners in the construction company in exchange for the loan guarantee. It's standard practice in business ventures like this, Tom. Surely you understand that. I looked at Patty. Really looked at her. Her eyes wouldn't meet mine. "Patty, did you read these papers?" "Marcus explained them to me," she said quietly. "These papers would give Marcus control of my company. If this investment goes south, I'd lose everything Dad and I built. Everything Sarah and I worked for." "It's not going to go south," Marcus snapped. "But we need collateral. Banks don't just hand out money without security, Tom. I thought you'd understand business." I closed the folder and pushed it back across the desk. "I understand business just fine. I understand that this isn't a loan. This is you trying to steal my company." The answer is no. The change in Marcus was immediate and frightening. His face darkened, his jaw clenched, and he leaned forward, both hands flat on my desk. "You're making a mistake. The only mistake I made was not seeing what you really are," I said, standing up. I was 6'2", and I'd kept myself in shape despite the years. Marcus was bigger. "Tommy, please," Patty said, and now there were tears in her eyes. "If you don't help us, we'll lose everything. I already signed papers. I already committed my savings. If this deal falls through, I'm ruined." "What do you mean you already signed papers?" I asked, ice forming in my stomach. She looked at Marcus, then back at me. "I used my stake in the company as collateral. I'm your sister. I'm listed as a minority shareholder in case something happens to you. I signed over my shares to Marcus as security for the investment. I'd added Patty to the company paperwork 8 months ago when she came to work for me. It was just supposed to be a formality, a way to make sure she'd have something if anything happened to me. She held exactly 3%. Essentially worthless unless I died, and she wanted to cash out. But apparently, she'd found a way to weaponize even that. "You can't do that without my approval," I said. "The operating agreement requires my signature for any transfer of shares." Marcus smiled then. It was the smile of a shark. "Actually, Tom, your sister found a loophole. In cases of personal financial hardship, minority shareholders can temporarily assign their voting rights and profit shares to secure private loans. It's in Section 7, Paragraph 12 of your operating agreement. I have lawyers who specialize in this kind of thing." He was lying. He had to be. But the confidence in his voice made me doubt. Just for a second. And in that second, I made a decision that would cost me dearly. "Get out," I said quietly. "Both of you. Now, you're going to regret this," Marcus said. But he straightened up and headed for the door. Patty followed him, but she stopped at the threshold and looked back at me. "I thought you loved me," she said. "I thought family mattered to you." "It does," I said. "That's why I'm not letting you destroy yourself with this con man." She flinched like I'd hit her, and then she was gone. I sat back down at my desk, my hands shaking. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer, Jim Chen, who'd handled my business affairs for 20 years. It went to voicemail. I left a message, asking him to review the operating agreement and call me back as soon as possible. Then, I called my oldest friend, Ray Michaels, who ran a security company and was former FBI. "Ray," I said when he answered, "I need you to run a background check on someone. Marcus Holloway." "Sure thing," Ray said. "What's this about?" "My sister's boyfriend. Something's not right. I'll have something for you by end of business today," Ray promised. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of work that I couldn't focus on. I kept looking at the door, half expecting Patty to come back, to apologize, to tell me she'd been temporarily insane and that Marcus had been manipulating her. But she didn't come back. Instead, at 11:30, my project manager Carlos came into the office looking worried. "Boss, we got a problem at the Henderson site. Patty just showed up with some guy in a suit and told the crew to stop work." I was out of my chair before he finished the sentence. The Henderson project was our biggest current contract, a $200,000 renovation of a historic building downtown. "What do you mean, stop work?" "She says there's a safety violation. Says OSHA is going to shut us down unless we comply with new regulations. The guy with her says he's an inspector, but he won't show credentials." I grabbed my keys and phone. "Tell the crew not to do anything until I get there. I'm on my way." The drive downtown took 12 minutes that felt like 12 hours. When I pulled up to the Henderson site, I found my crew standing in a confused cluster on the sidewalk, while Patty and Marcus stood at the entrance with a thin man in a cheap suit who was taking photographs of the building's interior through the open door. "What the hell is going on?" I demanded, striding up to them. "Mr. Wade," the thin man said. "I'm Inspector Phillips with the County Safety and Compliance Office. I'm afraid we've received reports of multiple code violations on this site. Until they're remediated, I'll have to issue a stop work order." "Let me see your identification," I said. He patted his pockets. "I must have left it in my car, but I assure you, this is official business." "Bullshit," I said flatly. I pulled out my phone and dialed the county safety office, a number I had memorized after 3 decades in business. When the receptionist answered, I said, "This is Thomas Wade of Wade Construction. I have a man here claiming to be Inspector Phillips. Can you confirm his employment?" There was a pause. Then the receptionist said, "Sir, we don't have anyone by that name in our department." I hung up and looked at the fake inspector. "You have 10 seconds to get off this property before I call the real police." He didn't wait. He bolted for a sedan, parked down the block, leaving Patty and Marcus standing there. Marcus's face was red with anger, but Patty looked shocked, like she genuinely hadn't known it was a scam. "You're sabotaging my business," I said to Marcus. "Why?" "Because you made this personal," Marcus said. "You disrespected me in front of your sister. You called me a con man. Nobody calls me a con man and gets away with it." "Tommy, I didn't know," Patty said, her voice breaking. "He told me there really were violations. He said he was helping you avoid fines." "Go home, Patty," I said. I was too angry to look at her. "You're fired. Clear out your desk by end of business today." "You can't fire her," Marcus said. "She's a shareholder, a 3% shareholder with no management authority." I shot back. "And as majority owner, I can remove any employee for cause. Bringing fraudulent inspectors to my worksite is definitely cause." I turned to my crew. "Back to work, everyone. This is handled." Then I walked back to my truck, got in, and sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My phone rang. It was Jim Chen, my lawyer. "Tom, I reviewed your operating agreement like you asked. That loophole your sister's boyfriend mentioned? It doesn't exist. Section 7, paragraph 12 is about annual meeting procedures. He's full of it." "I figured as much," I said. "But thanks for confirming." "What's going on?" Jim asked. I told him everything. When I finished, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Tom," Jim said carefully, "this sounds like attempted fraud. You should call the police." "It's my sister," I said. "I can't just have her arrested. She brought a fake inspector to shut down your worksite," Jim said. "She's already crossed lines you can't ignore. And this Marcus character is clearly running some kind of scam. The question is, how deep Patty is in it." "I need to think," I said. "Don't think too long," Jim warned. "Guys like Marcus don't stop with one attempt. He'll escalate." Jim was right. Marcus escalated that same evening. I was at home. A small house in the suburbs that Sarah and I had bought when our kids were little. Both kids were grown now, living their own lives in other states, and the house felt too big and too empty most nights. I was heating up leftover Chinese food when someone started pounding on my front door. I looked through the peephole and saw Marcus, and behind him, 2 other men I didn't recognize. All 3 looked angry. I didn't open the door. Instead, I called 911. "There are 3 men trying to break into my home," I told the dispatcher, giving my address. "I'm a homeowner, I'm alone, and I'm armed." I wasn't armed, but the lie would make the police come faster. "Officers are on their way," the dispatcher said. "Stay on the line with me." The pounding got louder. Then I heard breaking glass from the back of the house. They were coming in through the patio door. I moved to the hallway, phone still in hand, and waited. Marcus came around the corner first, and when he saw me, he charged. I was a 61-year-old man who'd been in exactly 2 fistfights since high school, but 25 years of construction work had kept me strong, and I still remembered my army training. I sidestepped, used his momentum against him, and sent him crashing into the wall. The second man came at me, and I wasn't so lucky. He was younger, faster, and clearly knew how to fight. He got me in a headlock, and I felt panic rising as my air cut off. Then, I heard sirens. The man let go and ran. Marcus scrambled to his feet and followed. By the time the police came through my broken patio door, guns drawn, the three of them were gone. "Sir, are you all right?" one of the officers asked. "I'm fine," I said, though my neck was already bruising and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. They broke in. 3 men. "I want to press charges." Over the next hour, I gave my statement to the police. I told them about Marcus, about Patty, about the fake inspector, and the attempted fraud. I gave them Marcus's full name and the license plate from his BMW. One of the officers wrote everything down carefully. "We'll need to bring your sister in for questioning," he said. "Based on what you're telling me, she's either a victim of this guy or an accomplice. Either way, she's involved." "I understand," I said, though it felt like swallowing broken glass. After the police left, I called Ray. "Tell me you found something on Marcus Holloway." "Oh, I found something," Ray said grimly. "His real name is Marcus Holloway Washington. He did 6 years in California for running a real estate scam that bilked elderly investors out of $800,000. Got out on parole 18 months ago." "Jesus Christ," I breathed. "Patty's with a convicted felon." "It gets worse," Ray said. "The Holloway Real Estate Ventures Company? It's a shell. Doesn't own any property. Never has. He's been using it to scam people like you, targeting small business owners through romantic relationships with vulnerable women. Your sister is his 4th victim in 2 years, that I can confirm." "How do I stop him?" I asked. "You don't," Ray said. "The FBI does. I'm calling my old partner in the white-collar crime division right now. This crosses state lines, which makes it federal. They'll want to talk to you tomorrow." I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my living room with the lights on and a baseball bat across my lap, jumping at every sound. At 3 in the morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Patty. "Tommy, please. Marcus said he's going to hurt me if I don't get that money. I'm scared. Meet me at the office tomorrow morning. Just us. I'll explain everything." I stared at that text for a long time. Then I forwarded it to Ray and to the detective who'd taken my statement. Then I replied, "I'll be there at 8. But I wouldn't be alone. The next morning, I arrived at Wade Construction at 7:30 with Ray and Jim Chen. We waited in Jim's car across the street, watching the building. At 7:45, Patty's car pulled into the parking lot. At 7:50, Marcus's BMW arrived, along with another car carrying the 2 men from last night. "She set you up," Ray said quietly. "She brought them with her." "I know," I said. And I did know. Patty had made her choice. At 8 o'clock, 3 FBI agents in 2 unmarked cars pulled up to the building. Ray had made that call last night, and they'd moved fast once they heard Marcus Washington's name. They went inside, and through the windows, I could see what happened next. Marcus tried to run. They tackled him in my office, the same office where he'd first tried to con me. Patty didn't run. She just stood there crying as they read her rights. The 2 men with Marcus gave up without a fight. An hour later, I was sitting in the FBI field office, giving my full statement to Special Agent Rodriguez, a sharp woman in her 40s who'd been tracking Marcus for months. "Your sister is cooperating," Rodriguez told me. "She's claiming she didn't know about his prior convictions, didn't know the investment was fake, and that he threatened her family when she tried to back out. Is any of that true?" I asked. "Some of it," Rodriguez said. "She genuinely didn't know his criminal history. He uses aliases and fake IDs. We found emails between them, planning how to pressure you into signing over company equity. She was promised a 25% cut of whatever they extracted from you. I felt something break inside my chest. So she was in on it from the beginning. From about 2 weeks after she started dating him, Rodriguez confirmed. I'm sorry, Mr. Wade. I know she's your sister, but she made choices. Bad ones. What happens now? I asked. Marcus Washington will go back to prison for violating parole, plus new charges for fraud, attempted extortion, and assault. He's looking at 15 to 20 years, minimum. Your sister will likely get a plea deal if she testifies against him. Probably 3 to 5 years with possibility of parole after 18 months. And my company? I asked. Is it safe? The attempted equity transfer has no legal standing, Rodriguez said. Your lawyer can confirm that. But from what I've seen, you're fully protected. I drove back to Wade Construction in the early afternoon. Everything okay, boss? He asked. It will be, I said. And I believed it. Mostly. Over the next few weeks, I learned more details than I wanted to know. Marcus had specifically targeted Patty because I was her brother and I owned a successful business. He'd courted her, love-bombed her, and gradually introduced the idea of the real estate scam. When she'd hesitated, he'd threatened to leave her, and she'd caved. Then he'd threatened worse things, and she'd caved again. By the time she realized how deep she was, she'd been too scared and too complicit to back out. Or at least, that was her lawyer's story. I didn't know what to believe anymore. The day Patty was sentenced, I sat in the courtroom gallery. She pleaded guilty to attempted fraud and got 4 years with eligibility for parole after 2. When the judge asked if she had anything to say, she looked directly at me. I'm sorry, Tommy, she said. I was weak and stupid and greedy. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need you to know that I'm sorry. I nodded once. It was all I could manage. After the sentencing, I walked out of the courthouse into bright sunshine and found Ray waiting by his car. You doing okay? He asked. I don't know, I said honestly. She's my sister. I raised her after Dad died. I gave her a job when she needed one. And she tried to steal everything from me. You know it's not your fault, right? Ray said. You did what family's supposed to do. She's the one who made bad choices. I keep thinking about all the signs I missed, I said. Marcus's expensive car, his vague background, the way Patty changed after she started seeing him. I should have seen it. Maybe, Ray said. But you can't live your life suspecting everyone, Tom. Even family. Especially family. That's no way to exist. I thought about that a lot over the following months. I replaced the broken patio door. I changed all the locks. I reviewed the operating agreement with Jim and put in new safeguards. I hired a new office manager, a capable woman named Helen, who'd retired from banking and wanted part-time work. I also started going to a support group for people who'd been defrauded by family members. Turns out there were a lot of us. We met every Thursday evening in a church basement, and we told our stories, and we reminded each other that we weren't stupid or naive or bad people. We were just people who'd trusted the wrong person. 6 months after Marcus was sentenced, I got a letter from Patty. It was postmarked from the women's correctional facility where she was serving her time. I almost threw it away. And I have, but curiosity got the better of me. Dear Tommy, it read. I know you probably hate me. I deserve that. I've been in therapy here, and I'm starting to understand how I let Marcus manipulate me, how I convinced myself that what we were doing was somehow justified because you had money and I didn't, how I blamed you for having a successful business when my life kept falling apart. None of that makes it right. None of that excuses what I did. I just wanted you to know that I'm working on understanding why I did it, and I'm working on becoming someone who wouldn't do it again. I don't expect you to write back. I don't expect you to visit. I just needed you to know that I'm sorry. And I'm trying to be better. Your sister, Patricia. I read that letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my desk drawer. I didn't write back. Not then. Maybe not ever. I didn't know yet. A year after everything happened, I was sitting in my office on a Thursday morning when Helen knocked on my door. Mr. Wade, there's someone here to see you. She says she's from the district attorney's office. The woman who came in was young, maybe 30, with a determined set to her jaw. I'm working on a task force investigating elder fraud and financial exploitation. We've been reviewing your case with Marcus Washington, and we believe he's part of a larger network targeting small business owners. Would you be willing to share your experience with other potential victims? We're organizing awareness seminars. You want me to tell my story? I said. To warn other people. Exactly, she said. You saw through the scam eventually. You protected yourself. A lot of people don't. They lose everything. I thought about that for a moment. Thought about the support group. Thought about all the people who'd shared their stories with me. Thought about the shame I'd felt, the embarrassment, the sense that I should have known better. Yeah, I said finally. I'll do it. I've spoken at 6 seminars since then. I tell the story of what happened with Patty and Marcus. I talk about the warning signs I missed and the ones I caught. I answer questions from worried business owners and concerned family members. Every single time, at least one person comes up to me afterward and says, "Thank you. I think you just saved me from making a terrible mistake." That helps. It doesn't fix what happened. It doesn't give me my sister back, the one I thought I knew. But it makes the whole nightmare mean something. Patty gets out in 18 months. She's written me 4 more letters. I've read them all, but I still haven't responded. I don't know if I will. Jim says I need to protect myself, set firm boundaries, make it clear that there's no money here for her, and no job waiting. Ray says I should do whatever feels right, but remember that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and trust has to be earned back slowly, if at all. The support group just says that I need to do what lets me sleep at night. The truth is, I don't know what I'll do when Patty gets out. Maybe I'll meet with her once, in a public place, and listen to what she has to say. Maybe I'll set boundaries so firm they're essentially walls. Maybe I'll offer some kind of limited relationship with strict conditions. Or maybe I'll do nothing at all. What I do know is this. I'm not responsible for Patty's choices. I'm not responsible for fixing her life or funding her fresh start. I did that once, and she weaponized my generosity against me. If she wants redemption, she'll have to earn it herself, through her own work, her own therapy, her own commitment to change. And if that makes me cold or harsh or unforgiving, so be it. Because I learned something important through all of this. Sometimes, love means saying no. Sometimes family means protecting yourself. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is walk away from people who see your compassion as weakness to exploit. Wade Construction is still standing. My crew is still working. The Henderson project finished on time and under budget, and we got 3 new contracts from the reputation we built. The business my father started, and I built with Sarah, is secure. That's what matters. That's what I protected. And I'd do it again. The morning sun still comes through those office windows the same way it has for 32 years. The dust still dances in the light. My coffee still sits in Sarah's mug with her handwriting telling me to build my dreams. I did build them. And when someone tried to steal them, I fought back. I protected what was mine. I didn't let misplaced guilt or family obligation destroy what generations of Wades had worked for. Some people might say I should have given Patty more chances. That family deserves infinite forgiveness. But those people didn't see the emails planning how to pressure me into signing over my company. They didn't feel the panic of being choked by Marcus's accomplice in my own home. They didn't read the police reports documenting how Patty had scouted my finances for weeks before bringing Marcus in for the kill. I loved my sister. Hell, part of me still does. But love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's just enabling. And I won't be anyone's mark ever again. Family or not. The last thing I'll say is this. If you're reading this story and you see yourself in it, if you recognize the warning signs, if you feel that uncomfortable prickle of doubt about someone in your life who's asking for money or access or trust that doesn't quite add up, listen to that feeling. You're not being paranoid. You're not being cruel. You're being smart. Protect yourself. Protect what you've built. And if that means drawing hard lines with people you love, do it anyway. Because at the end of the day, you're the only one who's going to look out for your life's work. You're the only one who can make sure your father's legacy and your wife's belief in you aren't traded away for someone else's con game. I'm 61 years old. I survived war. I survived grief. And I survived my own sister trying to steal my life. Wade Construction is still standing, and so am I.